We are live. Yes. Hi everyone. How are you doing? Let's see. Let's do some quick background checks. Everything is looking okay. I am visible. Mansi is visible. Let me adjust the screen a little. Um, okay. Guys, can you all confirm if I can hear? You can hear me. Mansi, hi, welcome.
Hello everyone. Hello guys.
How are you doing?
Amazing. Are you
Awesome.
asking me or those people out there?
I'm asking you right now.
I'm doing great. Thank you.
Excellent. It's been couple of weeks since you were here. The last conversation we had was on introverts and extroverts. That was such a fun conversation. A lot of people reached out after that, talking about how the talk kind of changed the way they looked at themselves and looked at other people. So that was pretty awesome. And we decided to talk about placebo effect, which has been on our minds for quite a while. कि इस पे बात करना है. So finally,
And very important in the current scenario. So I've written like we'll probably end up talking against the tide a little bit, but I think it'll be well worth it.
okay. Why is it relevant in the current scenario?
Oh, you'll come to know
Okay.
in the end. I don't want to talk about that, Abhi.
Okay, excellent. Hi, chat. How are you all doing? Everybody's. Oh, excellent. We have 60 people already. So Noob Neil has already started with some very interesting comments. Placebos are just a taster of what all the mind is capable of. The mind makes up whole realities on the fly to fool itself. Very cool.
Wow.
Very cool. Chanda Vankade has said we want more content of Mansi ma'am. So
Oh,
that we will manage.
yes.
Uh,
Thank you.
yeah. Soothing music. So that's not mine, by the way. So that music is taken from. So YouTube has an audio library where you are allowed to take songs for use in for live streams. So I've taken from there. Will placebo stop after working the stream? Vivek, I'm afraid so. We are here to ruin your life.
I was just thinking we might just be, we might end up the whole placebo effect might be taken away, but then awareness is what
Yeah.
requires. So,
Yeah, like Tanmay said, first you ruined humor, now you have ruined love, and then
now everything else, like you're attacking every other thing that you know. So
yeah, I know. I mean, we'll all end up in a room pulling our own hair, saying, "What is real? Nothing is real."
why? Why did we even do this?
Yeah, I know, but I don't care. I think it's a worthwhile experiment. Yeah,
It is. So no, I mean from whatever I see in psychiatry in my OPD and the people who have reached out,
yeah,
uh, so it's different in my OPD because these people are already aware that there's a problem and that's why they try to seek help.
yeah,
Whereas the people who have reached out after the streams or the people who reach out when I go and give a talk somewhere,
yeah,
it's that is actually a reflection of how awareness brings so many other things to your awareness in terms of to your consciousness
yeah.
and how it gives a context to so many of your issues. So awareness, it's a double-edged sword. You could use it, you could misuse it.
And this stream will make that clear very well. How
Yes.
awareness can work in your benefit or against you.
Or again, so true.
So to start off quickly, there are 70 viewers and 39 likes. So I'm going to start getting a little more strict on this channel. That what is this behavior,
Hit
Pooja?
the like
What is
button.
this behavior? Please make that at least equal to the number of viewers. Can you all like, please? And also, if none of you have subscribed, then please do so. Janvi, I'm ready to get one more concept ruined tonight. Janvi, that's what we are here for, to ruin to ruin your life one
One
concept at a
concept
time.
after the other, right? Certainly.
All right, awesome. Okay, we are at 58 likes and 64 likes. Good. Very cool. We can
Like
start
that.
now.
Sure.
Mansi, what
So
is
then,
placebo effect and how do you want to start talking about it? I'll leave it to you. How do you want to start talking about it?
sure, as always, you like me to go in the flow. So, placebo. I mean, well, if you really have to look at it in a very strict manner, it's going to be something a little different. But then it has its manifestations in so many ways in our OPD practice, in everyday life, that
Mm-hmm.
that would be a better way to go about it. Like, not just talk about the technical stuff, not the technical word placebo and placebo effect, but to go beyond that and understand all the different areas where it has been affecting our lives.
Mm-hmm.
So, so that you tell me, like placebo, we medicos use it in and out.
Yeah,
What
it's
do you think is a placebo?
so when it's so difficult to answer in a one line because my understanding of placebo has changed so much over the years. So
Yes.
I'll tell you what, as a medical student, we used to have this phrase that "अरे ये तो placebo effect है." It was a dismissive thing. So if somebody were, say, in pain, and we were to believe that okay, this pain cannot be because of a real cause, then we would say okay, इनको saline दे दो एंड उनका पेन कम हो गया. अरे ये तो प्लेसिबो इफेक्ट था, मतलब they were imagining the pain. And now looking back, that was a very wrong way to look at it. So the more I read, and also the more we understand as a whole, how the community understands, it was a wrong way because we did not have full knowledge of pain, of treatment, of how patients respond. So now my idea of placebo effect is very, very different.
Changed. Yeah,
Yes.
certainly. Yes.
So
So
Mansi,
with
one
me,
second.
mm-hmm,
When you moved your mic just now, so your volume just
uh-huh.
dropped. It
Okay.
was much better. Something you did.
Yes. I just removed my earphone actually.
I
So
have
it
no
should
idea because suddenly your volume had dropped by
couple of
some.
decibels.
Yeah, now it's better.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Uh,
How do earphones? Oh, so the mic of the AirPods. Okay, maybe that is actually making it better. All right, I'm gonna wear both of them.
yeah, cool, cool. Yeah,
Fine, fair
they
enough.
look stylish, and
S-
they're not AirPods. They're black.
Yeah, sure,
Okay,
yes.
we are very strict with brand placement on this channel because
Yeah,
at some point Apple is going to sponsor me for using
yeah.
like 50 of their gadgets. So
It's a Freudian slip. I have earpods, but I want to own AirPods, so I call them AirPods. So
exactly.
Freud, you're back again in our conversation. So, all
Yeah.
right, moving on to placebo. So, from what you told me and from what I have understood, and for people who don't know what a placebo is something that is very inert, something that we expect is not a pill, not a medicine, just something that kind of looks like a pill
Yeah.
but does not have the action of a pill, like does not have the action of a medicine.
Correct.
That is what a placebo is. So when we as medicos, when we read about the studies and when the pharmaceutical companies, they try certain drugs, certain molecules, what they do is they try to understand if there is a real medicine. Let's say paracetamol. You check paracetamol on 100 patients and you give other 100 patients maybe just a sugar pill, something that is not supposed to have an effect on any sort of a problem.
Yeah.
And then you compare शुगर पिल में कितने लोगों को अच्छा हुआ एंड रियल पैरासिटामोल में कितने लोगों को अच्छा हुआ. So when you do that, you are practically assuming that a placebo is something that's never going to have any sort of pharmaceutical action.
Right.
It's not going to have a specific action. So it was assumed to be something, or it was not assumed, but it was understood to be something that was a very inert molecule or something very inert.
Correct.
This is a placebo.
So
Now,
initially in the trials, placebos was used to say कि देखो placebo दिया कुछ फर्क नहीं हुआ, and another pill that looks just like the same but इससे फर्क हुआ. So you compare it with the placebo and say that compared to this, our drug is so much better.
right. That's how till now the studies are conducted in the same way. So placebo is something that is not actually the real treatment but just simulates the real treatment.
Yeah.
And like the appearance, the feel, the whole behavior that comes around it, and that's why people used to think that इससे कुछ नहीं हो सकता है.
हाँ.
तो अगर let's assume now the other part of it is that let's assume I have a pill and I am also having a population that's on placebo. So if both of them have equal effect, then it's assumed that if nothing has also helped and this pill has also helped, then this pill is useless.
Yes.
If I am making sense, if the chat is getting it.
Yes. So अगर if I'm in pain, Okay, my head is paining, and you give me a paracetamol, and you tell me that this is a paracetamol, this is a painkiller. You take it and you'll feel better. Now I take it and I feel better, and later on you tell me that, oh, this did not contain paracetamol, this was only sugar.
Yes.
Then if I did feel better, then either I was faking it, which was the earlier point of view, or if somebody else gets paracetamol, real paracetamol, and they also feel the same amount of relief as I feel with a sugar pill, then you can say that, okay, so that paracetamol does not have any extra benefit. A sugar
Right.
pill would have also worked equally well.
Right,
Yeah.
right. So here what was assumed was extra benefit जाने दो. They assumed that कुछ काम ही नहीं करता है because sugar भी उतना ही काम करता है. So that is a placebo.
Right.
Now this is in the pure scientific terms, but similar effects were seen long back, like even centuries ago. How Stonehenge was supposed to have healing powers, and people would go there
Yeah.
to get themselves healed. And even over here in our own country, we have so many of those methods where people think that if you do this, then you're gonna get better. Like how faith healing has been working. If you follow certain methods, if you go up kisi mata ke darshan ke liye jaiye, for chicken pox and all,
Yeah.
then someone gets better. So those were actually these are also placebo effects, where you can see that something that should not ideally help you has somehow helped you.
Correct. Okay. So the idea is, when we try to understand it, you have a problem and we are trying to look for a solution. And we look at it from both ways. We look at it from the point of view of, I feel like this will help you because of this, or because this has helped you, it must be this. So you can either give a painkiller because you have worked out that this drug will act on the pain mechanisms in the body and therefore reduce the pain, or you can give it, pain kam ho gaya, then by proof
Then
you can say yes.
Right.
And
then you have evidence that this is working.
yeah, and they're both considered as evidence. And ironically, most of evolution has been trial and error. So ye deke dekho, and then some things worked, some things didn't. And
Didn't
so
work.
when they work, you take it as proof.
Right.
Today we are going to talk about something that questions that proof.
Whole proof. Very true.
Right? So just because you give something and it works, did it really do that job, or was it something else, which is the placebo
Very true.
effect?
Yes.
Right.
And that's why it's against the tide, because today we are all about evidence-based medicine.
Yes.
So that's why it's something that can be a little contradictory to a lot of people's opinions.
Yeah.
But if you were to ever go and speak to real clinicians, like doctors, like say your dad, my
Yeah.
father-in-law,
Or us.
they would vouch. Us. I mean, so we are younger, so
Sure.
I would still feel that, okay, people might not really take our word, but if you ask some 50, 60, 70-year-old GP,
Sure.
and he would vouch for something like this, and you would know that this
Yeah.
really exists.
Yeah.
So let's just go on.
I want to ask chat right at the onset that what do you think is placebo effect, and have you experienced it? This might be a tricky question to ask, but there are people who come up with a lot of interesting stories. For
Yeah.
example, how faith matters between two doctors. So you go to one doctor and then something about that doctor didn't quite click with you, and then you go to another doctor, and even if it's the same medicine, it works.
It works.
So then there are interesting stories like this that a lot of us have.
Always.
And I wonder if chat also has something like that you can share. Coming back to our conversation, yes, Mansi, what were you saying?
Yes. So the first time that placebo effect was ever spoken about, or it was demonstrated, like in terms of someone really experimented about it, was when in 1799 there was this
Hmm.
physician. What he did was, he knew there was some metallic rod that was being sold in the market for painkillers, as
Hmm.
painkillers for rheumatoid arthritis. He exchanged that with a wooden rod which simulated this metallic rod,
Hmm.
and people still perceived benefits. So this is how, for the first time, this whole notion of not just the god, or not just superpowers trying to help you, but
Hmm.
an actual remedial thing, like an actual remedy, was replicated, but the real component wasn't there, and
Yeah.
still it helped people.
Yeah.
And after that, it kept on increasing. After that, around 19th century, in 1920 or something, Lancet for the first time published something about placebo,
Yeah.
and then a lot of things were incorporated into trials. So about the trials, I already explained a little bit, that you have a group that is going to receive the treatment, and you have a group that is only going to receive the placebo.
Hmm.
Both the groups are not really informed about who is receiving what. So
Right.
let's say Siddharth Warrior is in group A, I'm in group B, and you get the real pill, I get the placebo, but I'm not aware that
Whether
you're
you
getting
got
the
the
pill.
real pill, yeah, who got what?
Right, I'm not aware, and we don't even know that we have placebos.
Hmm.
We presume that we have pills. We are all under the impression.
Yeah.
So while these studies were being conducted, what really happened was, they noticed that the kind of improvement that people would perceive was to be reported to an observer, a clinician, or someone who was doing the survey. So they noticed that if the surveyor, if the observer knew that this person is on the pill and this person is not on the pill or the placebo, then the observer would subconsciously expect the pill to respond and the placebo to not respond,
Yeah.
and would accordingly end up, kind of in
I-
unintentionally trying to tweaking the answers, without
yeah.
really realizing he's doing it.
Yeah.
And that's why they started doing this whole blinding, where the patients don't know what they are receiving, the observer does not know who's getting what. And that's how they try to make these studies as neutral as possible, as free from biases as possible. These are called biases, right?
Yeah.
So that's how a lot of studies are done till now.
Correct. So the whole reason that blinding came
Was for this.
was because they knew that the minute people knew,
The
knowledge affects
placebo.
outcome.
Yeah.
Knowledge affects outcome, not just action. Not, it's not just about what you're taking, but knowing what you're taking affects outcome. So that is the reason for the blinding, one of the reasons for the blinding. The other
One
is
of
of
the
course
reasons.
the bias on the from the perspective of the people conducting the trial. They may also, that is double blinding, but single blinding का concept ही वो है. Right.
Right, very true. So like we said, if someone knows they're on placebo, they may not have enough effect. So
Yeah.
there were some really interesting observations that came out of these studies. It was noticed that the ones, so let's assume I gave you a pill and I told you that you're being given a pill that's really going to help you. So one of the best places where these studies were done about placebos and where enough evidence was found was pain analgesia.
Yeah.
So they noticed that if I give you a pill and I tell you, you don't know if it's a pill or a placebo.
Yeah.
Actually, I've been giving you a placebo, but I tell you that, oh, you're receiving something that's going to have really amazing effects.
Yeah.
You would actually have enough pain analgesia as much as someone who was receiving the real pill.
Yeah.
On the other hand, if you were receiving the pill, but if I suggested that I'm giving you something just before giving you the pill, that I'm giving you something that may or may not help you, I'm not entirely sure,
Yeah.
you would not have the effect that
That much
everyone else
effect.
got with the same pill.
Yeah.
Yes, you would not have that much effect. So now this is very interesting, because if we were to assume that pain or a lot of our other illnesses are purely physical phenomenon,
Yeah.
and you need a real treatment or something that acts specifically on that phenomenon, and if we assume that A is the pain, B is the pill,
Hmm.
and if we assume that only these two are interconnected, then irrespective of what I told you, you should have got the same effects.
Exactly. So if you remove the role that the brain has to play on health and sickness, then obviously what medicine you take should directly go and have that effect. but the brain is inherently connected to everything. So that in every part of your body, there are nerves which are connected to your spinal cord, which are connected to your brain. And in the brain, your emotions, your thoughts, your expectations, these are all directly connected to each other.
Yes.
So we just give these different names like, oh, you're feeling sad, you're feeling happy. But actually, these are just neural networks firing.
Right.
So
Very
why
true.
won't it affect?
Everything is regulated by the brain, even the
Exactly.
hormones,
Exactly.
everything. So
Exactly.
it is going to affect, and this was just like a bigger proof of how intensely, how deeply the mind and the brain are connected. Just knowing, like you said, just knowing that it may have an effect, whether it really is capable of or not, was enough to give you effects, and knowing otherwise was enough to take away some very good effects.
Right. Which
So
is,
this is,
yeah. Tell me.
no, go ahead. Yeah. So this is the placebo effect. So when you perceive benefits of something or you don't perceive benefits of something. So placebo is a Latin term which says I shall please, which means that I'm going to do something better. And uska exact opposite is nocebo, which means that I'm going to harm. So either you get benefits or you get harm based on the knowledge, irrespective of what it should really be doing. Now, to give one example of nocebo is, there are some personalities, there are some people who, as a psychiatrist, I can sense would be a little more anxious and would be a little more suggestible to what is being told to them. By suggestible, I mean that if you tell them something, it might just happen. So these are the people to whom I refrain from exactly sharing the side effects, because I know if I tell them, they're going to get them. Now, this could be a
This
bit
is
of a
ethical dilemma.
always,
It is an
always, but
ethical dilemma because when we ethically, you are supposed to explain everything. You are supposed to, when you give a medicine, you're supposed to explain that इससे फायदा हो सकता है, but I'm not sure. There is, because the benefit even in research trials is never 100%.
very true.
It is
Yeah,
40, 50, 60%. So
right.
to tell them that 100% इससे फायदा होगा is also unethical, and to not tell them that इससे
Side effects.
हाँ side effects हो सकता है is also unethical. But if you tell them that इससे headache हो सकता है, and because of you telling them they get a
They actually
headache,
get it.
then what is ethical? It's a very difficult conversation, and
It is.
but it is a conversation that needs to happen not just on a live stream, but it is something that needs to happen on a medical community. And it is, I mean, slowly we are very
Always.
very reputable journals are now publishing research on placebo effect and the
Yes.
benefits and the negative effects that it has. So definitely we're getting there, but yeah, it is a conversation that should be had. Yeah,
Very
tell me.
true. Right. So that's the nocebo effect, where if you tell someone it's going to cause harm, it will certainly cause harm.
Right.
So why does this happen? Okay, fine. Sun liya, kya hai placebo effect? But why? Why does it even happen? Like, what really happens in the brain? So what are the factors that really affect the whole process of receiving a placebo response and eventually the placebo effect? So placebo response is what you would feel like, what a person feels after getting a placebo. That is the placebo response, that you immediately responded to that, and the whole phenomenon is the placebo effect.
Right.
So the factors that affect placebo response is, first is conditioning. If in the past you've seen that, okay, taking a pill, popping a pill helps me get rid of the headache, then your brain is to a certain extent conditioned to believe that, okay, now you popped a pill, now you're going to feel better.
Yeah.
The classical conditioning, how you have a
Yeah.
sequence of events that seem to be interconnected.
There are a couple of interesting things about this. One is that what you call conditioning, also called as setting up expectations. There is one is that you have taken a pill and you have found use for it.
Right.
So the next time you take it, you have an expectation that this will help you. Second is a trusted doctor or a trusted person. It doesn't
Relative,
matter.
anyone.
Yeah, it could be a relative, it could be a spiritual leader, it could be anyone. But somebody that you trust telling you that this will have benefit will set up an expectation. And third, seeing somebody else get a benefit will set up an expectation. And the minute you
Very
have an
true.
expectation, then you are in that cycle. And I'll explain what happens in the brain. But yeah, continue, Mansi.
Yeah. So this is conditioning, which again, the expectation bit I will also be covering, and I'm sure you're going to cover it in the neuroscience bit. Second is verbal suggestion. If you give something to someone and if you don't explain it to them what you one should expect from it, again it's setting up expectations,
Yeah.
then they may not completely have the benefits. So how if a doctor spends couple of minutes more with a patient and tries to explain to the patient, this is for your vomiting, this is for your sleep, this is for your abdominal pain, then all of those symptoms are, there's a good chance they are going to get better.
Right.
But if you just tell them take this and go, the
Yeah.
patient will feel better, but it may not be exactly the same as someone who had spent that extra 2 minutes with that person.
Yeah.
Now these are some very easy things, like these are some symptoms that can be felt very very subjectively, but for objective things it may not exactly be the same. So let's assume I sit down and explain about hypertension pills to someone for 10 minutes.
Yeah.
इट डज नॉट मीन दैट उसका बीपी कम होगा, और जिसको मैंने 10 मिनट नहीं समझाया और जिसको सिर्फ मैंने 1 मिनट के लिए समझाया उसका कम नहीं होगा, कम डेफिनेटली होगा. So wherever there's a lot of subjective component, over there the placebo effect is seen a lot more.
Yeah.
Wherever there's a lot of objective measure, the magnitude of the effect could be a
Exactly.
little variable.
I think the important thing here is that we again try to think of it in terms of binary. Always, we are always, even chat I'm reading, there is a lot of going towards binary in the terms of is something placebo. So when you say placebo, it's completely disregarding any effect it has, but
Right.
everything has a placebo component or a nocebo component depending on context. So the
Right.
conversation is about how context changes outcome, which is actually the common theme throughout this channel. Even when we talked about colors, that is what we spoke about, how context changes the color that you see. If it can happen at that fundamental level, of course context will change outcome of treatment.
Everything for that matter.
There was a very good article on brain in the Brain Journal, which is one of the most highly reputed journals, on placebo effect, and they made a list of all the different things that can affect the placebo effect. So one was conditioning, as you said.
Right.
One, verbal communication. Patient doctor interaction.
That was the third point I was going to come to.
What do
The
you think about
behavior
that?
of the healthcare providers.
Right.
So this is something that again, I mean, it's not the wave to ride on. Talking good about doctors is something that's not gonna be liked by a lot of people currently.
No, but then if we don't do it, who will?
No, I will anyways do it. I will
Yeah.
anyways do it. So, but yeah, I mean, that is something. So the behavior of the healthcare providers, it's well known that an empathic doctor has much better compliance when it comes to patients. Like if a
Right.
doctor is empathic, he can engage the patient a lot more better. The patient feels that he can trust this person. The patient feels that the intent of the doctor seems a lot good for me.
Yeah.
There isn't any ulterior motive, when I deal with this patient, with this doctor and all of that.
Yeah.
Because of that, the patient feels a lot more safer. The patient trusts your judgments a lot more, complies to a lot of treatment.
Yeah.
And it actually reflects in the outcome as well. Like the benefits that patients perceive are so much more.
Absolutely.
Well, I mean, it's true for every medical field, but it's truer for psychiatry. Because in psychiatry, it's so much about the empathy, it's so much about the therapeutic alliance. So this whole patient-doctor relationship, the term for it is therapeutic alliance, and not just patient-doctor, but even the paramedical staff and the other
Yeah.
staff at the hospital.
Exactly.
But the therapeutic alliance is something so important, something so pivotal to this whole process of producing better health. And I have felt that, I have noticed that
Yeah.
the same pills, in fact even better pills than something that I would have tried, all of that does not help. And then they come to someone, maybe purely by virtue of the same age group, or purely by virtue of being of the same gender, or whatever. There are so many things that affect your wavelength or the therapeutic alliance. You see that even with lesser pills, the patients get so much more better.
Yeah,
And that is actually something that is all the time, it's like a feedback in my own brain that okay, this really helps and this should be done and
I
everyone
agree.
should do this.
I agree. Even I have felt the same thing, and the more I see senior doctors who are very successful and who are very, someone to look up to, I realize that medical knowledge is obviously there, but the things that make the really good doctor special is the way they behave. And earlier I used to think it was like a social thing, that okay, of course you
Right,
feel good,
right.
but now I feel like it is part of the therapeutic
Yeah.
experience itself.
Yes.
And the simply the way that a doctor establishes trust is so vital. And now we know why it
We know
matters
why.
here, right? the
Right,
the
right,
other thing that was there is the healthcare setting,
right.
the other variable, which
Yes.
patients had a better outcome when they were given treatment in a place where they associated with better outcome.
Yes, again conditioning.
कंडीशनिंग. सो अगर रास्ते में किसने कुछ पिल दे दिया, अच्छा चलो ये ठीक हो जाएगा, वर्सेस you are in a place that your brain associates that okay, this is where a place of healing happens. It could be
Yes.
either a multi-speciality hospital, it could be a ashram retreat, it could be anywhere, but your brain has to associate this with a place where you will
Yes.
get better. That
Yes.
matters.
A lot. A lot.
Yeah.
So in fact, placebo effect, like apart from just the pill, but like we said, how a doctor talks to you, how the place, the environment, the setting that you have set up in your own mind, that this is where I'll get better, that is so important. It's also important, a lot of times people have preferences about the color, shape and size of the pill. If
Mm,
someone has, so this is so common in psychiatry, if they are chronic schizophrenics or something, they will tell you, madam mujhko wo pink pill hi chahiye.
mm,
And even if you tell them that the company has stopped making it, I can't get you a pink pill anymore, they
right.
just want that because they have associated that pink pill
With getting
to a
better.
particular, to a particular amount of improvement.
Correct.
So there are so many such variables, like there would be a lot of patients who tell you, madam ek sui laga do, madam
Mm.
ek saline ka bottle laga do,
Oh yeah,
because the
this is
sui,
so common.
so common. The soy, the saline ka bottle is actually, it kind of helps them expect a lot of improvement and sets off a reaction in their own bodies.
Right.
And that's why all these behaviors are put into place.
Correct.
So these are the three variables that affect how, one can get the placebo effect.
There
What?
is one more that I found really
Hmm.
interesting.
Hmm.
Desire for improvement.
It's there. I'm coming to that.
Okay, getting that. Okay, continue.
Yeah. So what they said was, now these are the factors, the external factors that help, like the conditioning. And conditioning is the experience you've had or what others tell you.
Right.
Suggestion is when the therapeutic or the healthcare providers tell you what to expect, or anyone who's experienced that will tell you, oh ye
Yeah.
pill se ye acha ho jata hai, take this. And the third is the setting, the behavior of the people who are providing you that care.
Yeah.
Now these are the external factors, but what really happens in your brain, what
Right.
changes in your brain?
Right.
So when you think about the changes in your own body, so the first is raising expectations. Like once you know that there's an expectation that has been set, your body gets into this mode of a lot of other cascading cognitive mechanisms.
Yeah.
So first is, let's say you're having a lot of pain. Okay, so your body sets up an expectation that when I take this pill, I want to get rid of the pain. So
Yeah.
now this is an avoidance goal. You're trying to avoid a negative stimulus.
Right.
The moment you start having avoidance goal in your brain, your body becomes a lot less receptive to any negative stimuli, which
Mm.
means that the moment you realize that, okay, now I've taken the pill, now there should be avoidance of this whole unpleasant stimulus. Your body naturally starts paying lot less attention. Like, I'm not saying the mental process of attention, but even the pain carrying fibers,
Yeah.
even
They
they
become less
stop relaying.
sensitive.
Yes, they become less sensitive. They stop relaying all the information, like they reduce it.
Yeah.
Second is when it is a positive expectation, which is an approach goal. You want to approach that particular
Yeah.
destination
Like
of,
feel better or get
yeah,
healthier.
of
Or,
feeling,
yeah.
yes, pain freeness or feeling better, whatever. Then your body starts, your mind starts focusing a lot more on the positive emotions. And
Right.
that's how you start raising your expectations to get better, and you even start noticing a lot of good things, like you start feeling better, and you start observing even the smallest improvements. Your mind starts focusing a lot on those improvements. So
Yeah.
that is one, setting expectations. Second is the desire.
Hmm.
So when you have any sort of desire for change, whether it is change from painful state to pain free state, or desire of changing from a depressed state to a relatively normal state, that desire itself helps you build better
Right.
expectations. And what I explained before,
I
do you have
remember,
something
yeah, I
else?
remember when I was in neurology, I did my psychiatry posting at
Right, right,
KGMC in Lucknow, and I was in the addiction OPD.
right.
And there were a lot of addicts coming in and taking treatment for different addictions. And
Hmm,
I was speaking to the professor, and he said something very interesting. He said that
hmm,
the one thing that decides whether
hmm,
somebody is going to get out of it or not
hmm.
is whether the patient came themselves or did somebody drag them
Willingness,
there.
the
The
willingness.
willingness. So if the patient comes himself or herself and says, okay, listen, I have this problem, I want to get better, that desire to get better changes everything. And that stuck with me because it it really is how these are not just words. These are not just, okay, be positive, be motivated. These are not just words, these are actual neurological states.
Phenomenon. They are
Yeah.
actually things that change everything.
Changes in your neural networks.
Yes,
Yeah, I thought that
yes.
was very amazing. Okay, continue.
Right. So these are the two genuine factors. So of course we understood how the expectations and the desires, they help you change your emotions. So what they also said was, once you have better expectations, once you have more desire to get better, and you've done something about it. It's
Hmm.
not like, okay, I want to get better, I want to get better, but you've done, even if it is just going for a jog, that small act can also change your emotions, which means your anxiety start getting lesser, your
Yeah.
fear starts getting lesser, because you know you're doing something actively to get rid of this painful stimuli. So that is the change in emotions, which can also happen because of the
Right.
expectations and the desire. So these are the three things that happen at your brain level that help you actually perceive the placebo effect, or they actually change things in the brain. We'll come to that, and it's so
Yeah.
phenomenal. But
I know.
it's also, there's something that I did read, but I'm not entirely convinced of it. But I will, because it's in a very good journal. So I'll anyways go ahead with it. What they said was, when you take any pill, whether it's a placebo or a pill,
Hmm.
and you perceive any improvement, your brain tricks you into believing that the pre-pill, the pre-treatment
Hmm.
pain.
Hmm.
So let's say I took the pill at 10 p.m. and at 10:30 I start feeling better. So around 10:30, my brain will actually presume that 9:30 baje pain, if we would have measured it on the scale, if the pain was actually 10, let's say I measured the pain and I didn't tell you that, okay, the pain was 10, you would later on rate the pain. If I would were to ask you that 9:30 baje kitna tha or 10:30 baje kitna hai, you'll probably tell me, ma'am, 15 and 5, whereas it was
Hmm.
actually 10. So what
Hmm.
they said was, placebo effect also happens, or in fact any treatment,
Oh,
it also
damn. Like
happens.
retrospectively making your problem worse so
Yes,
that
so
you
that you
feel
feel
better.
better. Distortion of memory.
Damn. Okay. Got it.
So our
Got it.
brain is a big trickster, is what.
It is. It is.
Yeah, yes,
And
yes.
it's also about, so these are all hacks that we tell each other all the time, right? So if somebody's feeling depressed, you tell them, oh, it could be so much worse. And it seems like just a normal conversation to have, but just the act of imagining a worse situation will make
Can
you
make you feel
feel
better.
better relatively, and
Yes.
relative better is better because there is no other better.
Yes.
All happiness
Yes.
is
True that.
relative. So uh,
Is the chat with us?
the chat is with us. The chat is very keen on us talking about alternative forms of medicine. Which we could, I suppose, but we'll
We
have
could
to
touch up on
we could
that,
touch upon it.
definitely.
So they've
Yeah.
asked about Reiki, they've asked about homeopathy, they've asked about Ayurveda, and I will say this. I will say that all successful modes of therapy will use placebo effect.
Certainly.
And now, after 15 years in medicine, my personal viewpoint is that to not use placebo effect is a waste
Of the whole effect.
of the whole effect. It is like your your patient your what is your goal to improve the patient's health? What is the patient's goal to improve the patient's health? There is a common goal here. And if there is a system in the brain that will allow the patient to be better, then you should use it as long as you're doing it ethically.
Right.
And
Right.
there is nothing more ethical than spending a couple of minutes extra with a patient
Very
or
true.
explaining the effects of the medicines and stressing on the positive effects of the medicine, and having a personality that will give trust. This is a very ethical thing because the patient feels better, the patient feels that they are in good
But
hands. Yeah.
certainly, at this, I mean, the way we are talking right now, it almost seems like it's only the doctor's responsibility to establish this trust.
I see what you
Well,
mean.
yeah, yes, because unfortunately, I feel that because of all this that's happening, it started off with Satyameva Jayate, and so yeah, I could see a stark difference. Like,
Oh
I was like,
God,
okay, wow.
really?
Uh, and I feel that not trusting your doctor
Yeah.
is the patient's loss as much as it's the doctor's loss,
Hmm.
because we'll come to why evolutionarily also this is so important. We will talk about it,
Yeah.
but I do feel that and I've noticed this in my OPD. I always tell there are some patients who are very finicky and will keep on questioning you, will want are suspicious of the modalities that you use and all of that.
हाँ, ये क्यों दिया, ये दवाई क्यों दिया आपने, ये.
Right, right. Like there are some who are anxious.
Yeah.
So anxious patients, as a psychiatrist, of course, I understand and I help them a lot to get rid of their anxieties. They need reassurance. But then there are some who are suspicious and will keep on going to 10 doctors. And so when I see someone with a file who already has one consultation with some couple of doctors and has come to me, I know this is the suspicious patient. This is the patient who does not trust someone very easily. And I tell them in a very nice way that, what, the patients who come to us with immense faith, they actually do much better. And the ones who don't have faith, they keep on struggling. So I would suggest you have one doctor.
You know who struggle with this the most?
Who?
Doctors when they become patients.
Yeah,
Oh
I
my
mean,
God, it is such a problem for both parties, because there is a
the
lot of.
treating doctor and the
Yeah. So
patient doctor.
for a there is a lot of conflict that is potentially there, because then as a doctor you would constantly question what your doctor is giving you, and so you are actually ridding yourself of the placebo effect.
Certainly. So here we need to understand there's a difference between questioning to understand better
Yes.
and questioning because you don't trust the doctor. So I would suggest to someone, you go to a quack who you trust, or you go to a big specialist who you don't trust at all. It's going to give you the same benefits. It's never going to be any better. So if you go
Damn.
to someone,
I won't go that far. I'm not going to encourage anyone to do that. Mahmood had said that you guys are ruining your career. That is an unfortunate way of looking at it. I'll tell you,
no.
no. It's not like that. See, there are a lot of things that we already know about psychiatry, about neuroscience, about neurology, and none of this affects how you think about a disease. The point I want to make is, more than everybody who thinks like that, we have been taught to I have been taught 15 years on how to think about a disease, but not so much about how to think about a patient. And if I don't think about it, then I know that for the next 30, 40 years, I will keep treating the disease. But what I'm
Not the
trying to do
patient.
is understand how to treat the patient. And I feel that that is a separate discussion, which medical students don't have, which none of us really talk about. But we all instinctively know.
Know that. Yes, know
Every
that.
doctor knows this. Every good doctor knows this. The importance of just placing a hand on the shoulder and saying "sab theek ho jayega" is such an important gesture. But now I feel that we are getting to the neuroscientific basis of that
Of
gesture.
how? Yes,
Yes, how
why?
does that matter? Why does it matter? So
Right.
every senior says treat the patient, treat the talk, spend time with the patient. But why? That is what we are trying to explore. Okay.
Right, right,
Yeah.
right. So what really happens now? So, I mean, what they said was that the placebo effect now coming to the brain, like what happens? So before that, I'll also talk about, so this was the desire expectation
Yeah.
model. Like, you have expectations, you have desire, and that kind of, interacts, and then you have all this cascade of emotions and cognition and all of that. But there's also something which is called the cognitive model, which
Mm-hmm.
says that when you have any sort of placebo, in the sense, let's not talk of placebo as a nothing pill. Let's talk
Mm.
about placebo effect, that is something that acts beyond the effect of just that little pill, whether it's a nothing pill like a sugar pill or a proper pill. There
Mm.
are so many other factors that help you beyond just the therapeutic or the pharmaceutical effect of that pill.
Yeah, the
We are
chemical
talking about,
nature of the pill. Yeah.
yes, the chemical nature of the pill. So we are talking about things that act beyond the actual chemical nature of the pill.
Yeah.
So they said that the moment you get any sort of treatment, there's a concept called somatic focus.
Mm.
So your body becomes kind of sensitized to focusing on any small improvement that happens. So this generally happens to anxiety patients. It's very, very evident. The moment they have anxiety, they start having little breathlessness or some palpitations. They are conditioned to believe that, oh my God, this is the start of something as bad as the panic attack last time. So
Yeah.
now, whether chemically they would have got it or no, we don't know. But because of the conditioning, they just get another panic attack purely by thinking, oh my God, is this the start of a panic attack?
Yeah. It
In
triggers
the
them.
same way, it triggers them.
Yeah.
But if you give them a pill and you tell them that you're going to feel better in 10 seconds, 15 seconds, 20 seconds, of course the pill acts. But what also happens is that their mind, instead of focusing on the palpitations, the breathlessness, it was focusing on how it is increasing.
Yeah.
The moment you give them the pill, the mind starts focusing on now how it is decreasing. Now, instead of focusing on the increase or the deterioration in the condition, it starts focusing on the improvement in this condition.
Yeah.
This improvement itself is like a positive feedback mechanism. It's a loop. You feel better, then you get the feedback, so you're reinforced to do it a lot more, and that keeps on happening. And that's one of the reasons how placebos help. So why sometimes a lot of people will say, madam, mujhe vitamin ka tonic do. If you
Mm.
give them a pill, because as a child they used to take a tonic, they don't feel that they'll get better, but they just want a tonic for that. So
Mm.
this is something that tells us how minute and in so many ways it can manifest itself. And even as a clinician or as a relative, it's so easy to discount all this, just to tell them, le lo na, same mein to cheez hai. But
Right.
you don't know that there are extra benefits that are going to happen when you give them something
Mm.
that they perceive to be that miracle cure that they had the last time.
Right.
So that is the cognitive theory.
The word miracle cure is very interesting that you use that, because it takes two to have a miracle cure. You need
Yeah.
somebody. You need somebody who says it's a miracle cure, and you need somebody who believes it's a
Who
miracle cure.
believes?
If you
Yes.
have only one, it's not a miracle cure.
Very true.
And that is even what you said about the tonic versus the injection, there have been studies that tested the differences between a pill, a syrup, and an injection and a surgery.
Sham
And
surgeries, yeah.
sham surgeries have been done, and patients have had actual improvements in pain. So again, pain is the most
Yeah,
commonly studied effect, but even in non-pain effects
yeah,
like
yeah.
mood, happiness, even gastrointestinal problems, so chronic acidity, abdominal discomfort, there is a wide range of body actions that has demonstrated placebo effect.
Yes,
And
yes.
that is why this is so interesting, that we I'm glad that we are speaking about it. I realize that this
So
is
am
a
I.
difficult topic to talk about, and I also realize the reason it is difficult is because of nuance. So I don't know who all is listening, and everybody who's listening have are coming in with their own biases.
Very
So
true.
there will be people who will be listening to only disprove. See, I told you, homeopathy is a sham. That is going to be one way of thinking about it. Everybody is coming in with their own binary question. ये सब नहीं चाहिए मुझे. I don't want to know the nuances. Tell me, do I believe it or not?
Correct.
Huh, what is it? And what I'm trying to tell you is take a second and understand the nuance of it, what we are trying to say. If something is having a benefit, that doesn't mean that it is only placebo. That doesn't mean that it is only the chemical. It is usually a mix of both.
A lot of things,
A
yes.
lot of things. Even antibiotics, Mansi, even antibiotics are chemicals that will go in and kill bacteria. But believing that you've taken a good antibiotic will help your body create more
Immune system.
immune system, and that also helps in killing bacteria.
Yes,
So there is
yes.
so much we still are learning about this.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
continue.
So about the immune system, like you said, so since pain is the most studied, and of course mood, like I come across patients who come and tell me, the well-read ones who have some relative in a pharmaceutical company or something, they'll tell me, मैडम प्लेसिबो का भी तो उतना ही इफेक्ट होता है जितना इसका होता है, तो फिर ये दवाई किस काम की है?
Right.
When so there you need to know that placebo is not a nothing. Placebo is the other factors that are helping you, and my pill is
Exactly.
probably going to help you a lot more, or maybe a
Yeah.
little extra.
Correct.
But discounting the effects or disregarding the effects of a placebo is literally taking away a very powerful tool from our own selves, because it's
Correct.
really powerful,
Yeah.
and we should all use it to our benefits. So there was a very interesting experiment done by a biologist called McKinsey. What he did was, so a lot of people are allergic to pollens. So when they come
Yeah.
around flowers, they start having sneezing, rhinorrhea, and all of that. What he did was he collected all these people, like a couple of people who are allergic to flowers, and he gave them flowers that he made them sit around flowers that looked like real flowers but weren't really flowers. They didn't have any pollens, but they had the allergic reaction, they had the sneezing. So this was a proof that your immune system is also conditioned to produce certain placebo responses
Yeah.
based on your past experiences. So is
Yeah, it's not. Now again, like before, I'm always aware of people jumping to conclusions. Everything you say, people will jump to conclusions, and that is such a dangerous thing. So it's not to say that allergy is a scam. We're not saying that. The idea is, yeah, the idea is that your body reacts to the reality it perceives, and that is
right,
that. I
right,
mean, and
and
that
it
is a
has an evolutionary basis.
right. Exactly. Exactly. Okay, continue.
it's a protective phenomenon. So let's say you had a strong allergic reaction the first time you were around a flower.
Yeah.
Quite naturally your body is going to remember that, your immune system is going to remember that,
Yeah.
so that it protects from another immune offset, so that's a protective mechanism. But once again, like you said, it's a perceived reality. It may or may not be true, but your immune system only knows one thing: I need to protect this person from falling ill, I need to take care of this person. And it's in an overdrive. All it cares about is that whether it's being undercautious or overcautious is immaterial to the immune system. It just cares about taking care of you.
Exactly.
So
It's like better safe than sorry.
yeah, certainly. And that's how evolution is. It'll only try to preserve you no matter what.
Yeah.
So this is about the immune system. What they also noticed is that, of course, depression, it's well known. Like even small things, when someone tells you, you know what, last time I was unwell, I just started. So I'll give you an example. Of course, daylight, sunlight is supposed to have very beneficial effects on depression.
Yes.
This lockdown, I had a lot of relatives and friends call me up and tell me, you know what, I'm not really feeling well. And it wasn't completely in the depression spectrum where I needed to put them on pills. I told them, you know what, I think you should go for a walk on the terrace, in your balcony, in the building, and get some sunlight.
Yeah.
Now, in other countries, in Canada and all, they have these phases where there are longer winters and lack of sunlight. But in India, there's no way you could be deprived of sunlight, you know? I mean, much less a chance.
Yeah.
But these two things acted like such a placebo for them, because just knowing that I am doing something about my health, it activates your prefrontal cortex a lot more. This has been studied in the functional MRIs. It activates your prefrontal cortex, and it releases some chemicals that simulate serotonin, and you start feeling a lot better.
Absolutely.
So these are, I mean, of course, it's seen in respiratory cases, it's seen in cardiac cases, it's seen everywhere.
The number of patients in my OPD who now come to me with symptoms that are, all of them start with saying, when I ask ye kab se ho raha hai, since lockdown started. I think out of 10, maybe 7. And it will be a wide range of symptoms. It's not the same symptom. It could be headaches, backaches, depression, or memory loss. But they all started since lockdown started. So it's like their lifestyle has just changed, and something is perceived as off, something is wrong. And that acts as a trigger for them to feel a lot of things that they hadn't gone through before. And often, sometimes it also happens that they were having these problems before, but then their attention was never on it.
Right.
And now it is. Both ways it works. Yeah.
It's true. Very true. Very true. So now this is about what really happens. So for pain, it's noticed that your thalamus, which is the pain relay center, the thalamus is very active. Like it relays a lot of pain stimuli before you receive some treatment. And the moment you receive a treatment, whether it's a pill or a nothing pill, I would like to call it, or a sugar pill, it starts relaying a lot lesser information. Same with all, like even in depression, in immune system, everywhere this is noticed. Now this brings us to a question. If your body has the capacity to heal itself, why isn't it doing it? Why does it wait for something? So there's a very interesting evolutionary perspective to this, that if we think about thousands of years back, or maybe hundreds of years back, okay, it wasn't really very healthy to heal yourself. Like this whole self medication and Google information and all of that has only come in the last couple of decades. Even 100 years back, your own grandparents would not have ever tried to treat themselves. They would have definitely gone to the doctor, or they would have done some tried and tested home remedies, which were also proven. Like there was evidence that, okay, it works. Maybe not scientific enough, but there was some conditioning already that was happening. So from an evolutionary point of view, it's not really healthy to cure yourself, because you didn't have enough
information,
intellectual resources. You didn't have enough information. So your body does not find it very healthy to heal itself. And also there's something else that was equally interesting, that if your body thinks that whatever condition I am in right now, if I can sustain with maybe minimal functioning, with a lot of pain, but if I still can sustain, I will try to sustain. I will not waste my resources on trying to get myself better. This has been seen in animals. So Siberian hamsters, what they noticed with them was, if there's a hamster that is unwell, they in laboratories, what they did was these hamsters were kept in a lab, and the lights were manipulated.
Huh.
So if it looked like night time, the hamster would not do anything about it. But if it looked like a daytime, like if they were given placebos at the night time, uh, the lightings were made to look like it was night,
Right.
there wouldn't be any effect. But if the placebo was given and the lightings were changed to make them feel that this was summertime, their immune system would kick in, and
Right.
then they would start getting better. So
Right.
what they said was, if there is a challenging circumstance, the body will try to preserve its energies and not use them all in the immune reaction or trying to fight away the illness
Correct.
till it can sustain. Like, till the benefits of being in this inertia of illness are
Can
better
be
than the
better.
cost. Yeah.
Right.
Till then, it will try to sustain that. So now this also has an evolutionary point of view that your body still wants to preserve you and does not want you to completely disintegrate in
Right.
the process of trying to get every small ache and pain better.
Better. It's if you're the amount of energy that you have to spend to get better by yourself is more than what, so it almost makes a judgment call.
Yeah,
Thoda pain hai, okay, I can spend some
it
energy to
weighs
get
it.
better. But there's a
Right,
lot of
right,
pain. I don't want to do it by myself. I want to take help.
right, right. And if it's thoda pain, it will try not to do anything about it. Like, why waste any resources at all?
Yeah.
So that's how, so it tries to make sure that your resources are maintained for the challenging situations.
Yeah.
Also, so
Someone just said that your patients who are watching this might question whatever treatment you're giving is real or a placebo now.
once again, you guys are discounting the placebo effect.
Yeah.
My pills are real. My pills are real. My manner, my demeanor, my compassion, my empathy, that acts as the placebo, which helps the patient feel like, that acts as the good placebo effect, which is
Correct.
very much required. That is what makes me better than maybe some psychiatrists with which could not click.
Yeah.
Not to say that all psychiatrists may not be good. It's just about the wavelength. It's just about who clicks with whom, you know?
Exactly.
So,
So different. Every patient will have that one person who will want who they trust, and it doesn't matter who that is. But then that doctor will definitely have a different kind of impact
right,
on that
very true.
patient. It's not even about just doctors and patients. It's also about just advice.
Anything.
Right. So if somebody that you trust tells you to do something versus somebody that you don't trust tells you to do something, even if it is the same thing,
You still pick.
you'll still pick. Yeah, obviously, because your brain sets up the expectation that this is how it should be done. So Ronak has 1 second. So there's a couple of super chats. Trinetra said human body mind can adapt to any situation, which is placebo. That's kind of, yeah, in a way that is true. We are talking about human mind adaptability, and again, this is not an easy concept.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
is a,
So what's
yeah.
important is you can adapt, but for the placebo effect, there have to be some external cues. You can't sit here thinking that, okay, I have pain and I want some sort of placebo effect to happen. It's just not going to happen. You have to have some external cues, whether they are based on your conditioning, whether they are based on your on the verbal suggestion or whatever, but there have to be some cues that make you feel, that makes your body feel that, okay, now the process has kick started, let me get better, let me also invest my resources.
Right, but there are tricks too that all of us have to make ourselves feel better. Like for example, for some people, going for a walk or going for a run
That's
is
also an external cue.
it's an external cue, but that you have hacked it onto yourself. You have said
Right,
that going for
right.
a run will make me feel better.
Make me feel better. Very true. Very
And
true.
usually the simplest example is eating. So because
Yeah.
it is easily available and it's like a dopamine kick, you just feel like, okay, I'm stressed, I need to eat something. For people who get addicted to smoking becomes that I'm feeling anxious, once smoke, okay, I'm feeling better, because now you have the cigarette. How much of a placebo effect does a cigarette have?
So cigarette has both actually.
Exactly.
Cigarette has
Yeah.
both, yeah. Because so there's this phenomenon of the ringing or something. So people who smoke, they hold the cigarette between their fingers, right? So there's a ring of the
Yeah.
nicotine that is formed around the cigarette.
Yeah.
So now imagine puffing and imagine the little residue over there, but they actually feel a lot better even by sniffing that, even
Mm.
though it's a couple of hours after the whole cigarette has been thrown away.
Yeah.
So that is a placebo effect, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of people, they don't like the electronic cigarettes because they don't give them the feel of the real cigarette. So that is also a placebo effect.
Yeah, so there have been studies, okay, but then we won't go into that. Like, but there have been studies of just how the gesture of smoking itself starts to release that anticipation of feeling calmer. But anyway, so Ronak said, how do you differentiate between expectations that cause belief versus expectations that cause performance anxiety?
Performance anxiety happens when you believe something to be like a all or none. Like if I do well, then I'm good. If I do even little not so well, then it's gonna be a catastrophe. So performance anxiety,
It's a fear of
everyone has
failure
performance
kind
anxiety.
of thing. Yeah.
Yeah. When you catastrophize the consequences that may happen because of your performance not doing
Right.
so well,
Yeah.
that's when you have a lot of performance anxiety. Everyone has performance anxiety. Even before this session, the last 5 minutes are like, have I put everything in place? Will I make a mistake? Will I drop something? वो सबको होता है. It's protective.
Yeah.
You should have it. But
Yeah.
when it's a lot, it's actually because you catastrophize the consequence of your performance.
Yeah. Like merch. Like how I dropped my merch. If you get that.
That was so subtle, Siddharth. Yeah, but I saw you wearing that t-shirt. It's nice. I should also buy one.
Yes, wait, no. So I'll get you one, don't worry.
I'm just afraid it might not be in my size. So yeah.
No. We'll figure it out, don't worry.
Okay.
Okay. So there are some questions about ashwagandha and medicinal
So, well,
herb.
I'll tell you, when we talk about Ayurveda,
Yeah.
it's like completely disregarding the effect of Ayurveda. All these herbs and all these medicinal plants, of course, they have an effect. So,
Yeah.
by calling it a placebo, you're saying that there is no chemical nature of the treatment. There's only a psychological nature of the treatment. That's like discounting Ayurveda. Of
Yeah.
course, we all know that these herbs have healing powers, like whatever it is, and so much of our brain and the rest of our body is related to the gut. So what you put in your gut is going to affect all the other systems of your body. So I think even thinking that Ayurveda is just a placebo effect, I think it's like completely discounting
Exactly.
the importance of those herbs.
But I'll tell you this though. I feel that natural, non-allopathy healing practices, they definitely use placebo effect efficiently.
Certainly.
I have to hand it to them.
Yeah.
I feel that they have figured out how to use placebo better than Western medicine
Allopathy,
has.
yes,
Because Western
certainly.
medicine dismisses it. And till very recently, even in trials, it was as if, अरे ये तो placebo effect है, इसको ignore करो. But not so in non-allopathic medicines. They actually spend a lot of time investing in the patient's trust and building that patient's trust and making sure that there is that sense of नहीं ये लिया तो ठीक हो जाएगा. And that is a good lesson to learn. I think that we should also learn from that, and because there is nothing that stops us from giving the best of what we know and adding that element of developing faith, developing trust,
Yes.
as opposed to dismissing it, saying कि I don't care if you trust me or not, ये लो दवाई ठीक हो जाएगा तो हो जाएगा, which is such a rude thing. It is such an inhuman thing. It is a lose-lose.
Even if it is very scientific, like if the study says that about 60% patients will get better and 40 will have neutral reactions, even if it is very scientific, a person who comes to you with ailments, he does not want to hear the chances. In that state of anxiety, they want to hear something that sounds very conclusive, that, you know what,
Yeah.
I think you'll get better with this,
Correct.
even though it's unethical to say you'll definitely get better.
Correct.
But, I'm saying something like, I'm pretty sure you're going to get better with this, or I'm
Yeah.
pretty confident you're going to feel better with this. I think that's very important, because when so when we talk
Let,
about faith, go ahead.
no, no,
You
no.
seem to have a okay.
Yeah. Tell me.
So when we talk about faith, now this is just let's go to the extreme of the situation. You have someone who is extremely ill, like very very in a very critical state, but is very aware. Okay, is very aware of what is happening to him. Now this person goes to a doctor and is not is not able to have faith in the doctor and the doctor's decisions. Can you just imagine, like, in those times you want your body to kick in so that the body helps you, but if your body is occupied trying to judge whether I can have faith in this person's decisions, whether I can believe, and whether I should go ahead with these decisions,
Right.
your body is focusing from something that is really important to something that may not really be that important at that point of time. But you're distracting your body from what it should be doing to something that is not really going to help that person at that point of time.
So, 1 second. So, I would like to suggest that
Hmm.
this stream and this discussion, I don't want to conclude advice on behavior. So, I want to be very, very clear that everyone is very free to trust or not trust, or take decisions and doubt their doctors and doubt the patient, doubt the medicine, everything, because sometimes it is justified. Sometimes you think that, oh, somebody's trying to cheat you. You go with your instinct. The point is not that. The point is not saying do this or do that. The point is trying to understand placebo effect.
Yeah,
That's
so
it.
here
Yeah.
there's a theory behind this. There's a
Yeah.
theory called principal agent theory, in which they say principal is the person. So I'm the ailing person, and there's an agent who's going to help me.
Yeah.
And how they said that having that trust with that agency that's going
Yeah.
to help you
Correct.
is so important, because you want your resources to be used for the right thing. So of course, I mean, I don't think we are anyone to
Yeah. We are anyone
tell
to?
people what's right and wrong.
Exactly.
But you at least have to know the good and the bad bits of both the sides.
I will say this. If you are taking something, if you are doing something, do it with faith. Because if you're doing it anyway, do it with faith, because then you will get more benefit.
Absolutely. So
Yeah.
even if the real modality did not help you, let's assume it did not help you, your faith will actually hack your brain into helping you so much more, because your brain has the capacity to help you in a lot of ways. It's just waiting for some cue. And
Exactly.
going to a doctor could be that small little cue. It's like, how you put your car on ignition, you put in the keys and you ignite it, and then the car is good to go, But that ignition is like taking some help.
So we talk about it a lot from the doctor-patient perspective, but that is unfair, because it even helps in self-help. So, for example, if I am doing something, if I'm studying, with the confidence that yes, I'm going to do this very well, versus if I'm studying it with absolutely no confidence in myself, there is a difference with how well I perform. And right from there, it doesn't have to be that you are involving the medical setup and diseases and all that. The idea of the placebo effect is actually working in almost every decision that you take by yourself. So it's not the doctor. You could have faith in yourself and see the difference. Yeah.
Right. You could have faith in anything. It's also, I mean, here is where faith in God also helps. There are so many cases where, so as a psychiatrist, I've come across patients of schizophrenia. Or patients who are severely ill. They go to a faith healer and they get better for a while. Some of them get better forever. And some of them, like, they don't come back for a very long time. By forever, I mean a long time. And some of them actually get better for a while, which, if you ask me scientifically, it makes no sense. Like, there's no way you could cure schizophrenia just by going to some faith healer. But this is where the power of placebo, this is where the power of faith.
Exactly.
I mean, we're just talking about faith now. It's not about pills or no pills. It's not about doctors or patients. It's about the power of faith, because that faith actually helps your brain get into the mode of self-help a lot more strongly.
Yeah, absolutely. And there is Placebo as a word has a very negative connotation, but then suppose we remove that negative connotation, it actually allows us to give an explanation as to the benefit of many, many different things. And
Yes, yes,
it also gives an explanation as to uh, तो ऐसे कैसे हुआ मतलब why did I get better then if if that is not if
right,
that person doesn't actually know magic then how could I get better. So this gives a
right,
rational explanation as to why. Until we know better,
right.
this is a good enough explanation for me.
This is, yes, yes. So I mean, how a lot of people in Indian context would know that, बुखार आया है, मम्मी ने नजर उतारा तो मेरा बुखार कम हो गया. Things like that. Like more so in psychiatry, you get to hear this so much more because psychiatry patients actually end up with faith healers before they end up with a psychiatrist, at least in
Wow.
Indian scenario.
Hmm.
So every patient will, and we don't disregard it. We don't discount that at all
Yeah.
because I think there are very less psychiatrists and there are too many faith healers. And if the patient is getting better, I'm no one to tell them that you shouldn't seek help when you do feel better. Well, I would say don't exclusively seek help over there. If it's serious enough, I mean, you should take help of a professional as well, but you can't discount the effects of that. What
Yeah.
does the chat have to say?
So somebody's asked, Devanshri's asked that my mom is taking homeopathy medicine for her knee pain since the last 5 years, and her medicine comes to an end and she feels pain again. Is it placebo effect?
Coming to an end, like just the anticipation of pain, there are mechanisms that say that your DLPFC and your orbitofrontal cortex, all of these become extremely activated
Yeah.
when there is anticipation of pain.
Yeah.
दवाई खत्म होने के पहले ही there is so much anticipation that you actually start feeling the pain.
Correct.
So it's a neuroscientifically, neurobiologically proven phenomenon. And for homeopathy, well, I am not someone who's going to comment on whether it's a sham or it's true, but if it helps you, I mean, of course it has benefits. There are studies that have shown that it has benefits. So I would say if it's for harmless conditions, like if it's not for a very serious condition, uh, go for it.
We are
If
not,
it's
yeah. So again, I am not here to advise anyone on what to do. This is
yeah,
very,
and
very
please correct
clear.
me if I'm doing it.
No, so this is very, very clear. The point
Right,
is,
right.
the point
To
is
understand.
to understand. And if there is something that we don't understand, we say that we don't understand. And if there is something that we know, we share what we know. That is what it is. So what I'm trying to say is that if there is an effect by taking in something, if there is an element of faith, then there is an element of placebo. So Devanshri, if your mom believes that that medicine is giving her pain relief, then there is an element of placebo in that
Of
pain
placebo.
relief, right?
Right.
And this has happened not just with homeopathy medicine, not just with Ayurvedic
Everything.
medicine, allopathy medicine, painkillers, injections, surgeries, everything. Faith equals placebo. Okay. Now, what is that placebo effect? Let's take a quick look into it.
Neuroscience, yeah.
Yes, let's just go into a little bit so that because this is actually what what got me very interested in this. The idea being that okay, I hope that you can all see the screen. Now, the thing that is most studied is pain. And the idea of pain is in the body, there are multiple gates of pain. We are not going to go into the gate theory of pain, but just imagine it this way, that if somebody pricks your leg with a pin, then that pain is carried all the way up like this, up your spinal cord, into your brain, and there you finally say ouch. Okay, so there are multiple levels through which this pain has to go through. So first there is a local level on the skin where there are pain receptors. There is pain receptors in the spinal cord, There are pain receptors in the brainstem. There is pain receptors in the thalamus. There is pain receptors in the cortex. There are different gateways of pain. We will Rock Lee's 8 Gates of Pain, Naruto. Yeah, when I saw that series, I remembered Gateways of Pain. So Naruto actually had a lot of neuroscientific concepts. But what we are going to talk about today is, why is it called a gate? Because gates can open and gates can close. And so in different situations, all your gates may be open, and in different situations, all your gates may be closed. So one example is soldiers in the war. Soldiers have fought the war after getting hit by a bullet, and later on they've said, I have not felt any pain. And after it's done and they come back to their barracks, then they realize that, oh, I'm bleeding here and there is a bullet. If your adrenaline is that high, you can actually not feel that pain. So that means that inherently pain is subjective. So that is the first thing you have to remember, that pain is subjective. So when somebody says I have 10 out of 10 pain, that means that it is 10 out of 10 for them, and there is nothing like what is it for me. You can only empathize and say, I'm so sorry for you, you have 10 out of 10 pain, but you can't say that, when this happened to me, I had no pain, or I had 2 out of 10 pain. So whether it is labor pain, or whether it is getting cut by the knife, or stabbing, or when your toe hits the side of the bed, everybody perceives pain differently. Now, there are a couple of things I want to talk about in the brain, which is, there are 2 systems in the brain for recognizing pain. Mansi, you know that one is the opioid system and one is the dopamine system. And both of these, and another one that we didn't talk about before and now we can, is the endocannabinoid.
Yeah.
Endocannabinoid rather, but
Yeah.
So these are 3 systems that work in parallel with each other to allow us to perceive and think about how much pain to feel. Now, what is interesting is that dopamine is not so much related with pain, but rather the anticipation of pain relief or anticipation of feeling better. And opioid is completely to do with analgesia, so pain relief.
Analgesia.
So if you've heard of morphine is a drug that acts on the opioid system. And one of the worst pains that you can feel is in cancer. So cancer pain is very difficult to treat. And so morphine is a drug that is used in cancer for pain relief. Now, what placebos do is, one of the things that the placebo effect does is, it activates your dopamine pathway. So in your dopamine pathway, what happens is there is anticipation of pleasure or happiness or pain relief, whatever it is that will kickstart your dopamine, there is anticipation. So if I give you a pill and say this is going to make you feel better, and you believe me, that is very important. If you don't believe me, nothing will happen. But if you believe me, your dopamine is going up even before you've taken it. That is the beauty of it. Even before you've swallowed the pill, your dopamine is already going up. And then you take the pill and your dopamine hits a peak. It acts on a center called as nucleus accumbens. And your nucleus accumbens is the one that gives you that feeling of joy, the feeling of kick. And then you might actually end up feeling better, even though this pill had nothing to do with dopamine. But because you had faith, because you believed that I'm not going to give you anything to harm you, but I'm going to give you something to benefit you, your dopamine is going up, right? So that is the first thing to remember. It's a lot more complex, but for now, dopamine is one. Second is the opioid system. And the opioid system has a lot of roles, and there are multiple receptors, mu receptors, epsilon receptors, but the main role that we can talk about today is in pain relief. And what they found out was that somebody is in pain. Okay, somebody is really in pain, and you give them a pill and say that take this is a painkiller, and they have faith. Then what will happen is their opioid receptors start acting up, and so their pain is now gone because the opioid receptors are now activated, and their brain actually reduces pain. And the reason we know that the opioid is acting is because there is a drug called as naloxone.
Right.
And the effect of naloxone is that it blocks,
Antagonizes.
exactly, it blocks opioid receptors. And so if you give naloxone to this patient and then give this placebo and say ki take it, even if you have faith,
It does not act.
it does not act. So the placebo effect is not just faith dependent, because faith is just a word, it has no meaning. Faith means your hormones are changing. And so if you give naloxone, then even if you take the pill, because now opioid receptors can't act, there is no pain relief.
Right.
And another drug is called as proglumide. And this has the opposite effect. Proglumide does not act on pain itself, but proglumide increases opioid action. So if you give proglumide to this patient and give the same pill and say, take this is going to help you, they have more pain relief because their opioid receptors are acting more. So this is taken as one of the conclusive proofs that what we call placebo effect dismissively is actually physical biological changes that happen in the brain. Your dopamine receptors act differently, your opioid receptors act differently. And finally, just for the sake of completion, you all know about the prefrontal cortex, and just behind the prefrontal cortex is an area that we haven't really covered till now, which is called as the anterior cingulate cortex.
Cingulate.
So the cingulate cortex is roughly the one that connects the prefrontal cortex to the limbic system. And the main role of anterior cingulate cortex is setting up expectations. And when I give you a painkiller and say, okay, this is going to help you with your pain, what is happening is, if you have faith, if you trust me, then your anterior cingulate cortex says, okay, this is going to work. And so it sets up expectation, and your anterior cingulate cortex is full of dopamine and opioid receptors. And that is the loop that comes in. And similarly, there is also positive and negative expectation. So if I say that if this is going to harm you, then there will be a negative expectation. And so your dopamine goes down, your opioid goes down, your pain can go up. So this is a very, very superficial way of explaining it. There is also the role of serotonin. There's also the role of dorsolateral prefrontal cortex, like Mansi mentioned, your orbitofrontal cortex. So there is very complex, but this is the overview. Okay, Mansi, is there anything you want to add to this?
No, I think this is good. This is enough, I think.
Yeah,
to
I think
understand,
that, but this needed to be said, because at least
Absolutely.
there is a lot we don't know, but at least whatever we do know, we should share.
Right.
Okay.
So I think seeing these diagrams and knowing the real changes that happen, that's gonna help actually, help people understand that placebo effect is not just something, it really is a genuine change in your body and your brain.
Exactly.
So discounting the effects of placebo is, something that we wouldn't recommend. That would be something that should take away from this session.
Exactly. So we should, at least, if there's one thing that we should take away from this session, is that we should stop saying placebo as a negative thing, as a dismissive thing.
Right.
It is
Right.
something to be
Right.
respected and taken into
Very true.
account.
Hmm.
That's it.
Hmm.
Take it into account and say that this will add to whatever else. So if homeopathy has an inherent effect, it will be inherent effect plus placebo.
Placebo.
Right.
Everything.
Everything. Right. So because the only way to check for placebo effect would be to have someone give a treatment with and without faith,
Hmm.
which is an
Hmm.
interesting thing, and they have tried it. So they have
They
given,
have tried it.
yeah,
Yes, they have.
they have given a sugar pill to three people, like a three sets of people, and to one they've said
Yeah.
this will help, to one they've said this is not going to help, and one they've said nothing.
May or may not. Okay, yeah, they
Ha,
didn't say anything. Right.
anything,
Right.
anything, and
Right.
the effect was actually resembling what they said. So
Right. Right.
yeah, so definitely this has been proven already. So yeah,
Right.
okay. Mansi, what else do you want to tell me about placebo? Is there anything else you want to cover?
I think we've covered everything. I think so. I mean,
Yeah.
uh, I was assuming that the chat would have some interesting stories to share. Has anyone shared anything?
Uh,
Because in
yeah,
every psychiatric OPD, you'll have people who've been to faith healers, which would mean they've gone to the temple,
yeah.
they've gone to a Baba, they've gone to the masjid, they've gone everywhere, and it's amazing to see the kind of effects it has for a while. But
Hmm.
yes, I mean, it has those effects only for a while. Very few patients would have it for a very long time. But yeah, those stories are really interesting.
Hmm.
So, anyone has anything to share? I'd like to hear.
The idea of since you spoke about religion, um,
Mm-hmm.
I think that it's very important to wrap our heads around it because there is a tendency to dismiss religion, just like there is a
Hmm.
tendency to
Hmm.
dismiss placebo. And I feel
Placebo.
that, yeah, I feel that, uh, again, I'm not going to tell anybody what to do or what not to do, but I feel
Hmm.
that both of them stem from a lack
Hmm.
of understanding what is actually going on.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
that is unfair. That is unfortunate. I think
Right.
that we should have a conversation and we should keep having a conversation and we should keep learning more and not have it as a taboo subject. Like somebody said, how can you talk about
Agree.
placebo? You're ruining your career. It
Right.
is that itself would stop you from thinking about it or learning about it. And if you don't learn it, how can you improve your life?
Right. Right. I mean, at that, I would just like to say that as a psychiatrist, I know what are my qualities that add to that placebo effect, which is a positive effect. And I try, not consciously, but very subconsciously. It just comes very naturally. But I do know that they help. So if there are days when I'm very exhausted and I'm not able to give them that attention or empathy that I would, purely because I'm very exhausted, I make a conscious effort on that
Yeah.
day because I know that my lack of attention is going to be very counterproductive.
Yeah.
So knowing that these are the other factors, so if you know that giving your baby, let's say I tell my baby, like, a placebo effect would be, uh, giving a baby something that had helped them with pain last time, like they
Yeah,
fell down,
Lavina had a
you
very
give.
good example that
Uh-huh.
if a child hits his or her knee, and the parents just kiss it and say, "Okay, the boo boo is gone, the pain is gone," and
Exactly.
yeah, yeah,
So would you use, it's a placebo effect, does the pain really go away? I
and
mean,
the
would it?
baby stops crying.
Exactly. So the point is, it's that feeling that, okay, now the purpose is served, and now it's over. So would you stop using that tool of telling the baby to kiss and drive the boo boo away? Would you stop using that tool? There are benefits.
Yeah.
So would you discount it just by saying, oh, it's a placebo thing, you shouldn't do it? You'd still keep doing it because the
Yeah.
objective is to get the person better.
What would you advise that you give the baby actual painkillers? If if this
No.
is, yeah, exactly, because
Right.
that is the ethical dilemma here.
Right.
That
Right. Right.
what are we going to go for, and what is our purpose? What are we trying to do here? So
So I think. I think if it's unethical to give only a placebo, it's unethical to give someone a sugar pill alone
Yes,
and tell
yes,
them that आप ठीक हो जाओगे. That is completely unethical. That is something that we would never advise.
correct.
It's unethical to say that, okay, my mere presence as a psychiatrist is going to get you better, so
Mm,
let's just wait and watch. That
mm,
is unethical. But
mm,
along with the real treatment, along with the real therapy,
mm.
if my body language, if my demeanor, if my overall attentiveness to the patient, if my genuine need to get the patient better, genuine
Yeah,
desire to get the patient better, if all those extra things are helping,
yeah.
I think it's a
It should
great
be
thing for the
done.
patient. It should be done.
Yeah,
It's wrong to not do it.
correct. And in fact, if you don't do it, the
You're
nocebo
depriving.
effect kicks in.
Yes,
And if a
certainly.
doctor is rude to you, and
Right.
you have that frame of mind that, oh, this यहाँ पे ठीक नहीं होने वाला है, then the nocebo effect is just as bad, and
Very
the
bad. Yes.
actual medicine that you're giving will have a lesser effect than it should.
Yes.
And
Yes.
then that it is confirmation, just like faith will confirm, the healing will confirm your faith, the not healing will
Yes.
confirm your
Doubts
suspicions.
about. Yes, anyways. Right. Right.
And that is also something that is very important for doctors to think about, because there is such a rise in the violence against doctors, and these are conversations that need to be had. You
Very true.
cannot say that
Very
this is
true.
too uncomfortable, I don't want to have this. In fact, the more uncomfortable it is, the more the need to have it, actually.
Absolutely. The whole point of something being uncomfortable is that there
There are,
isn't a conversation that needs to be
yeah,
had.
exactly. There are unresolved issues there. Correct.
Freud.
Freud. Gaurav Moite, political views or beliefs can be considered under placebo effect. Everything that has faith can be considered under placebo effect.
Yeah.
Everything. I think that we can make a blanket statement like that. That wherever faith is
Yeah.
there is a placebo effect. Whether there is something else apart from the placebo effect is something you have to do research on, because
Okay.
that is individual. But if there is faith, there is placebo effect, because that is placebo effect refers to the physiological manifestations of faith. Look at it that way.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Placebo effect is faith. That is all. Placebo effect is your conditioning.
yeah,
That conditioning based on someone else's experience, your own experience, something
yeah,
you've read or heard somewhere,
yeah.
but it's just your conditioning. So to discount conditioning or to say that conditioning does not happen is very counterintuitive. It's
Correct.
gonna happen whether you like it or not.
So when we talk of faith, there is a tendency that acha, faith is just a state of mind, but I would like to insist on saying that there is no state of mind. Everything is a neuroscientific. Uh,
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
mean, yeah,
every emotion is a set of
neurons firing.
chemical. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, neurochemical changes.
Correct. So, yeah, Gaurav, I hope that answers your question. Gaurav said this was awesome again, as all other streams. Thanks to both of you. Thank you, Gaurav. That actually means a
Thank
lot.
you. Yeah.
Lavina is having a lot of fun with the emojis. Miss Nonchalant is also having a lot of fun. Vivek is also having a lot of fun. What happens if you give an actual pill and say that it's a placebo? Oh, that's interesting.
No,
But
so
that has also
I
been
did.
studied. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. So it's not gonna give you the benefits because the verbal suggestion.
yeah,
So this shows that okay, I'll just make it very simple. Let's say I have a patient and I give him a pill, and I expect the pill to give that patient a benefit of maybe 50-60% in the first 15 days,
hmm,
and the patient has 70% improvement, then the 20% happened because I said it's going to get you better. Ideally, it should have been only 50 with the pill, but it became 70 because the placebo effect happened.
I mean,
If you
this is
tell the
very
patient,
abstract. I mean, the exact 50
yeah,
60%
yeah,
is all, yeah.
nahi hota hai, but
Huh.
this is for better understanding.
Understanding, yeah.
But instead, if I tell them this is a placebo, then it'll be lesser than 50 because now the nocebo effect has kicked in by virtue of us trying to always discount placebo.
Yeah.
Maybe after this conversation,
We
once
won't.
you know the importance placebo, yeah, it might not go into nocebo. It may be at 50. It may stay at 50 itself. Like you'll only get the therapeutic effects of the chemical nature of the pill.
Correct.
But once you think of placebo as, oh, they didn't do anything on me. This was ridiculous. Like if you know you had a sham surgery, you might again start having pain,
Yeah.
So it's something like that.
So somebody's asked about wait, what was that question? What is a nocebo effect? So nocebo effect, Ujjwal, is when you give a pill and say that this is going to cause side effects, that this is going to cause you harm, even though it actually doesn't. But because now you believe that this is going to cause you harm, it actually causes you harm. So that is the
Yes.
nocebo effect. So that is the
So
opposite.
like
Yeah.
if the book mentions that a lot of people will get nausea,
Yeah.
if I tell it to every patient, if you were not going to get nausea just because I had verbally suggested that there's a good chance you'll get nausea,
Yeah.
or a lot of patients get nausea, you'll actually get it. So we don't know if it's purely because of the chemical reaction or is it because of the verbal suggestion.
Exactly. Like if you insist on the side effects more, and if you keep saying, see, you will get vomiting. You take this and you will get vomiting. And if you say it 10 times, the chances of them getting vomiting are much more.
Much higher.
Which is such a horrible thing to do to someone. Because
Yeah.
that vomiting is not imaginary. They're actually vomiting.
They are vomiting. It's very much true. So again,
And then what
you
is
have
ethical?
said,
Because now you are the cause of that vomiting, which is such an
so
unethical thing to
now,
do.
now here, apart from like the ethical issues, what
Yeah.
also comes in over here is that uh, I've had a couple of patients who had some side effects with some other doctor, and then they come to us and they tell us, "उन्होंने बताया क्यों नहीं?" So I feel that if a doctor is not mentioning the side effects at times,
Yeah.
it could be because the doctor actually wishes good for you. Like there are times when there would be a side effect that is very rare and is harmless. So I don't want to threaten you or burden you with the worry of, oh my God, what if I get that side effect? I don't want you to worry about that. But I mean, there are two
Yeah,
ways
but
of looking at it.
very unethical, like very ethically gray. So my friends in the
Yeah,
US, they tell me how they actually spend around half hours explaining the side effects of each and every drug, each and every
yes,
side effect, and then they have to
yeah,
take a signature saying that I've explained everything to you.
yeah.
Again, because of the legal repercussions and all of that.
Exactly,
And
exactly.
I wonder how we
It's
we
not beneficial.
we try to think of human beings as computers, saying that, okay, we have given you all this information, all this data, now you can make a logical decision and now you can go ahead. And that's great if we can get there, but
But it's not.
we're not
It's
there
not
yet.
possible.
Emotions matter.
Because
Yeah.
exactly, illnesses are anxiety inducing states. When you are anxious, you're going to focus on the bad bits a lot more than the good bits.
Yeah.
So well, I mean, of course, for a doctor, because of the legal issues at hand, we have to be careful and we have to do all of this. And a patient may feel, मुझे बताया क्यों नहीं? Okay, हो सकता है कभी कभी उसका बुरा असर होगा. But the odds of you getting it, if the odds are 1 in a lakh, if I tell it to you, you might not get that side effect, but you live in that anxiety for a very long time,
Yeah.
which is also not good. But yeah, I think it's a very, very great thing. I don't know
Correct.
there's any absolute answer to it.
Yes, but I'm glad that we opened the subject. I am glad because this
So
is
am I.
yes, because I'm trying to. It might be very ambitious, but I'm trying to create a space where we can have conversations like this. And I mean, if not on my channel, then where? It's we have to we
Yeah,
have
that's
to
good.
do this. So that being said, okay, parents use placebo to make their kids eat vegetables.
Yes, yes, totally.
Yeah, so yeah, parents have been hacking our brains forever. It's just it's just so Aditya said your streams are too addictive. Is it placebo effect? Maybe.
Aditya, anticipation of the stream is certainly a placebo effect.
Yes.
So yeah.
Okay. So Subhashmit Gupta is a Brainstem member. Welcome, Subhashmit. Welcome to the member family. And okay, what about people vomiting when they travel to a hilly area? No, so that's interesting because they are there is a lot of organic effects also. So when you're going
Yeah.
up a hilly area, your vestibular system is getting activated.
Vestibular.
But there is also the anticipation, because if you know that you are somebody who
Right.
vomits, then that anticipation can trigger it. Okay. So Sony Shriya's here. Please like this. Yes, everyone like the stream. Go on Mansi's Insta channel. Follow her there. She has very good IG live sessions where she talks about mental health. So the link is in the description. And what else?
At that, guys, there's someone who has made an impersonation account.
Oh God, yes. So Mansi is
yeah.
super famous now. People are making.
Sid, thank you, but can you take this diagram away because I can't see myself?
Oh God, of course. Why didn't you tell me? Okay, wait.
No, it's okay. It's okay.
Yeah, can you see it now?
Yeah. I can see myself. So
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, tell me.
So this impersonation account is there.
So who am I
It's
speaking to
okay.
right now? This is the real you, right?
No, the impersonator.
Damn it. They are good.
No. Yeah. So, but
You should have announced this in the imposter syndrome stream.
it wasn't there. I didn't know till then. I don't know if it was there. This was brought to my notice, but yeah, that would be amazing.
God.
So guys, my concern is that if someone is following and DMing that person, I don't want that you get some unwanted replies, or I don't want that to be misused. So please be careful.
So what is that? What is that channel's name?
The Mind Project. So mine is the.mind.project, and this is the_mind_project_. So it's very easy to get confused. There are some of my posts and
Did
there are
you
some
complain?
of my own images. Yeah, I reported it. Couple of other people reported it. Aditya
Yes.
helped me.
Yeah.
And a couple of other people.
So we'll also report it. So everybody go and find out. Don't report the actual Mansis.
Yeah. Yeah, please look for my name first because it's very easy to get confused.
Oh God. All right. Okay. So with that being said, okay, we're going to wind up now. Guys, thank you so much. You guys are awesome as always. I loved the chat. What is our plan? Oh, by the way, I don't know if you can't see it, but then I got out my old whiteboard from that I was using during my MD preparation year, because I haven't been using it for the last 3 years, but now there is so much happening that I need to know what is happening in the next 3 months.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So then every time somebody asks me, okay, are you free on October 18th? So I have to look there and see what is happening.
That's a sign of a busy person. So
yeah. I love it. I love that I'm getting a reason to use the whiteboard again. It's been so long.
A good one.
Yes. So
Sid, is this the next one that we talk about? At least our stream, is it going to be netizen psychology?
Yes. Netizen psychology. Okay.
Right.
Netizen psychology. We are talking about, and then we can talk about criminal psychology if you're up for it. I have another person in mind that we can call for the conversation. Yeah, so that'll be fun.
Yeah, sure.
But netizen psychology will be super fun. The Miss Nonchalant is saying the mind_project is removed. So well done.
That's great. Thank you. Yeah, thank you guys.
अभी जाके खुद का check कर ले. तेरा नहीं गया है ना?
Yeah, गलती से मेरा नहीं. Yeah, I know. I should be careful.
Oh damn. Okay, so wait. A couple of announcements. This Wednesday we are doing learning to unlearn. Okay. So that'll be fun. That'll be what part are we on learning to learn? 8. We are doing part 8 of learning to learn. So we are talking about unlearning. So that'll be super fun. And next Sunday we are doing neuroscience and climate change. Okay.
Oh wow.
Yes. So I found a couple of people. One of them approached me on Insta Live, and they are both in the US. They are both doing PhD in climate change, different aspects. So one is doing behavioral sciences and climate change. One is doing climate change and weather. And so that'll be a super fun conversation. So that'll be next Sunday, and the Sunday after that, I wanted to start my private classes.
Acha.
So
Okay.
yes, so we are going to start twice in a month. We are going to have private classes of neuroscience, and those will be ticketed, and the PFC members will get a free entry, and everyone else can join in, but it'll be a ticketed thing. I'll put out all the details in a community post. and I'll put out the links as well. The medical series, so epilepsy, and somebody had asked about Alzheimer's, somebody had asked about multiple sclerosis. Those I don't think we can do live streams because it won't make sense. What I will do is I will put out small videos. So that is something that I will start doing. I'll put out 15-20 minute videos on epilepsy, Alzheimer's, whatever you guys want to know. Just tell me. What I'll do is I'll put out a community post. You can just add it in the comments, whatever you want to know. Okay. Now, I want my psychology professor to be on your channel and discuss. Oh, Geeta. Okay. So, Sparsh, that's a great offer. Thank you. What we can do is, let me finish my Gita series, right? So let me finish all 18 chapters before I talk to anyone. So then that is what we're going to do. And hypnosis and magic are going to happen soon. And I'll be calling some interesting guests for both neuroscience of magic and neuroscience of hypnosis. I just spoke to them today. So that'll be fun. Just wait for it. Okay, just hang in there. Wait. Okay. Mansi, thank you so much for joining in. You were lovely as always. Yes.
Thank you.
All right, guys, I shall see you. Good night. Have a wonderful week. I'll see you all on Wednesday. Wait, let me see my board. Yes, I'll see you all on Wednesday. Bye. See you.
Bye, guys.
Bye.